on this edition of Inside Indiana Business. Out with the old, in with the new. Work begins on Elanco's new global headquarters at the former GM stamping plant. How it will transform the near west side of Indianapolis. Plus, brainstorming big business ideas in the Pocket City. We go inside our first Engage Indiana event in Evansville, where the name of the game is jobs, investments, and talent attraction. And why it's all about the beans for a Hoosier chiropractor turned coffee entrepreneur. What put Life Boost Coffee on the path to becoming one of the fastest growing companies in the Midwest. Inside Indiana Business starts now.
Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gerry Dick, coming to you this week from the side of the former General Motors stamping plant just west of downtown Indianapolis, across the White River. You know, this site has sat idle for more than a decade, ever since the plant closed. But this week, history was made. Groundbroken for Elanco Animal Health's new global corporate campus that for the first time will expand downtown Indianapolis west across the river. It is part of a $300 million statewide investment by Elanco to position Indiana as a center for animal health innovation, investment, and jobs. Shortly after the groundbreaking event, I caught up with Elanco CEO Jeff Simmons to talk about his vision for this headquarters. Okay, Jeff, we're really in kind of the heart of what will be your new headquarters, and I think it's interesting because obviously you have the beautiful shot of the downtown Indianapolis skyline, but this old structure here is going to kind of be used as part of it, right?
Yeah, 11 years ago, as we just heard today, this was closed. This was the GM manufacturing plant. This was the stamping plant, the line actually, and we're going to actually keep about a third of that at the end, and that'll actually be a multi-use facility, and White River Park will be around it. It'll be glassed in, and that's a place where we'll hold scientific forums and conventions and bigger meetings and facility, you know, to use for multiple things. So absolutely.
You talked in your remarks today about this not being a facility, but really more of a part of a movement.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
You know, there's two kind of meanings to building, and this is not about the building, the noun, but building the verb. We are building a lot of things here. We're building the next era of Elanco. We're building a post-COVID headquarters. It's going to have amenities and top research facilities and an incubator for new companies from High Alpha and others. It's building the west side, as we said. It's connecting the valley to the circle of the city, changing the whole skyline of this. And then we're building this epicenter for animals to allow innovators to come here and start companies to reach the world's animals.
You talk about an epicenter and you hear phrases like the Silicon Valley of animal health and a hub for innovation. Talk about that vision for what this will be on the campus and then beyond.
You know, COVID showed the world how important animals are. We believe in Elanco, making animals' lives better makes life better, from protein to pets, and we saw that, right? And so what we've seen is our industry, it's less mature than the pharmaceutical industry. So when you look at funding, when you look at models and partnering, we don't have that. So what Elanco has is the ability to reach over 100 countries, have access to animals in over 100 countries, 19 species of animals. But what we need is to incubate innovation, incubate ideas. And so the epicenter is the whole idea is to take and allow startups and capital to come here. And then it allows Indianapolis to actually launch companies in the area of animals to reach these world's animals.
Yeah, I know a big part of it too is this is an extension of downtown Indianapolis. Across the river for the first time, really to the west side here, so the impact beyond the campus confines, if you will, is potentially substantial.
This is an amazing side of the city. I've been living in Indiana in Indianapolis for 30 years, and until we started looking at this site, first you don't find 50 acres in downtown cities anywhere in the country much anymore. The ability to build this, and I say to this future workforce, This is a destination, not an obligation. We're going to make this a place. We all know you want community. Even at work, you want to collaborate. Some of our best friends are, who we work with. So make this an opportunity to come here with amenities. We're going to have a state park in our front yard, and the ability to have top laboratories, an incubator, a lot more open space. Today's office we think is a relic. This is not going to be about cubicles. This is going to be about collaborating community to drive competitive advantage for our company.
And I know you feel and others feel this will be a talent attractor for Elanco. But beyond that, as people see this campus when they come into Indianapolis, the impact it can have on talent attraction in the region.
Absolutely. And a call out here to the governor and the mayor and Representative Carson and across the board. As I said today, I was proud to be a Hoosier watching this come together. There is a oneness in this city and this state. There's an excitement with CICP and Agronovus around agriculture and animal agriculture, Corteva's headquarters. So there's the opportunity here with this to build a campus and a destination that's going to add to the city, but it's going to add to the pull of talent and people to say, I believe this is going to be one of the cities noted in 5 years to say this is a destination. In this post-COVID world, come and have an amazing lifestyle and living here in Indianapolis.
Very good. Well, my next guest on the Business and Beyond podcast is an entrepreneur, an artist, and a racer, all rolled up into one unforgettable personality. My next guest, Turner Woodard. Woodard bought and renovated the historic Stutz building on the near north side of downtown Indianapolis back in the early 90s. He created a space for Central Indiana artists to do their thing as part of the project. Not the only thing that drives him. Woodard himself dabbles in art and has always had a passion for racing.
It's tough. It takes engineering, it takes business skills, sales skills, and but I was able to craft it for about 10 years. And then my parents said I had to go get a real job.
Much more with Indianapolis entrepreneur Turner Woodard on the next Business and Beyond podcast. To check it out, just go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com and click on the subscribe tab. Well, Elanco's new corporate headquarters, a game changer for this near West Side neighborhood. More on the impact when we return.
Sitting in the shadow of Elanco's new global headquarters, a neighborhood called the Valley, named after the Great Flood of 1913.
Well, Elanco's move to the near west side of Indianapolis will no doubt breathe new life into an area that has been really one of the most industrialized areas of the city for many decades. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for growth and development. Mary Rachel Redmond hit the streets of the Valley to get the pulse of the people who live there and their hopes for the future.
For 80 years, the GM stamping plant stood on the west banks of the White River, the epicenter for jobs. In its heyday, close to 5,600 people, many using these steps, walked in here every day making a living cranking out auto parts for GM vehicles. But times in manufacturing changed. And by 2011, when the plant closed, only 650 people worked there. This is all the remains of the old GM stamping plant. Rusted remnants like this, literally pieces of a bygone era. But this project could reverse decades of decay. Businesses like Carniceria Guanajuato, a Mexican market and restaurant, that are hoping Elanco's new campus will pump new life into the area.
I hope they can get more customers. It's really a good thing.
We're going to bring not just an office and a campus, but we're going to bring families here. And whether it's helping with things in the area, we've got big hunger causes, therapy dogs, but being able to be part of the West Side, from living here to being involved in the community to engaging with our citizens that are around here is, to me, it's exciting.
Elanco's plan includes more than just a sparkling new building that will change the Indianapolis skyline. Also in the works, more trees, trails, and a brand new bridge connecting the west side to the zoo, White River State Park, and downtown Indy.
I see 15 years from now that we find this to be not only our neighborhood, but our community, and it's blended together. And we're just part of the landscape and the skyline of the west side, the valley. And the valley being known more, I think bringing back a lot of the history and the legacy of the valley to me. There's amazing communities and people, and the west side has a little bit of its own culture, and I'm excited about that as well.
A new day for Elanco, for Indianapolis, and for the people living and working in the valley. In other news around Indiana, we head to South Bend, where the application process is now open for a new workforce development program to help job seekers earn industrial-level job certifications. Certifications and other credentials give workers more specific education and training than traditional college degrees. The program will accept 10 to 15 South Bend residents and will assist in identifying training and certifications that best fit each participant's career interests and goals. Through the program, the city will reimburse 100% of exam costs and at least 50% of any training costs for qualifying participants. While in Fort Wayne, the Union Street Market Food Hall at Electric Works is adding 5 new eateries. The Mixed-Use Innovation District says the additional total number of merchants from 19 to 25 of the available spaces will be filled. The businesses include Craft Meadery, Market Seafood, From My Side of the Kitchen, Neon Carrot, and Be Great. Union Street Market is expected to open in October as part of the $286 million first phase of the redevelopment of the former General Electric campus. And when we come back, we head to Southwest Indiana for a business brainstorming powwow in the Pocket City. More on our first Engage Indiana event in Evansville. And the IBJ Life Sciences Power Panel is right around the corner, Friday, April 29th at the Westin in downtown Indianapolis. A chance to engage with a panel of experts as they discuss promising science, technology, and talent in Central Indiana's life sciences industry. Go to ibj.com/events to register.
Well, about 350 business community and academic leaders in Southwest Indiana gathered this week for the first of our statewide Engage Indiana events. It included a panel discussion focused on key issues facing Southwest Indiana. Regional leaders talked about corporate social responsibility, workforce, quality of place issues, among others. Another issue, air service. I talked with Mayor Lloyd Winnecke about the impact of losing service to Chicago and Detroit and efforts to get it back. Well, Mayor, certainly air service is very critical to any emerging, growing economy. I know there are challenges here with the loss of direct routes to both Chicago and Detroit.
Yeah, it's been really devastating for a lot of our corporate citizens who need to get vendors and customers into Evansville. So consequently, they're having to fly through Charlotte, Atlanta, or Dallas, which are all great connections, but it does pose a challenge. Luckily, the state has been a really good partner in trying to get the airlines to get those flights restored sooner rather than later.
So are you confident that something can be done to get those?
Yeah, the airlines like these flights, these routes. They've told us that they don't want to. They're not walking away forever. They're walking away from now. But the fact of the matter is, American has added another daily flight to Dallas, which is good. So that's 3 a day. Delta has is bringing in larger aircraft now on its Atlanta flight, and we know our flight from Evansville to Chicago is among the strongest in America's whole service area. So we know we're a good hub, but because of the pilot shortage and aircraft shortage, it's an issue right now.
A lot going on, and a lot has been going on in downtown Evansville, the health center, among others, driving people downtown, bringing people downtown. As you look going forward, a lot of talk, a lot of focus on maybe the riverfront being kind of that next frontier. Right. Would that be an accurate description?
It is accurate. We've cast a really bold vision for the future for Evansville's riverfront. In fact, it's called River Vision. And if you put a pencil to it, it's probably a $260 or $70 million plan, but we realize it's going to have to be done in phases. Everything from really attractive mixed-use developments right on the riverfront to workforce housing on the riverfront, to a different flow of traffic on Riverside Drive. So it's a bold, ambitious plan, but we think if we don't cast the plan or the vision, we'll never get to a better situation on the riverfront.
And part of the things happening here in Evansville, certainly quality of life, quality of place projects. The zoo is one. The new aquatic center, I know, has been a real driver as well.
The Deaconess Aquatic Center is one of, both it and the Kinney Family Penguins of Patagonia exhibit opened at Mesker Park Zoo within weeks of each other just last October. But the Aquatic Center is so phenomenal. We've landed the NCAA Division II National Swimming and Diving Championships for 2025. Lily King told me when we walked into the competition pool on the day of the dedication, she looked around and she said, Mayor, there are a lot of D1 programs that don't have a facility like this, so we're really proud of that. Our goal is to be an attraction for our sports tourism effort, but also to help grow swimming among young people in the city.
And I know so many of these projects connect to talent and the need to keep talent, but also attract talent here. Talent 2025, I know, is a big initiative.
Yeah,
here.
Talent 2025 is a regional initiative that is really designed about growing population and making sure our workforce is ready for new technology in all industry sectors. It aligns perfectly with READY, which is why we were one of the recipients of a $50 million READY grant for our region. So we're hyper-focused on all those efforts.
Evansville Mayor Lloyd Winnecke at the first of several statewide Engage Indiana events that Inside Indiana Business and the IBJ are putting on around Indiana. So first, Southwest Indiana will also be in Fort Wayne, South Bend, and then Indianapolis later this year. Well, coming up next, the chiropractor and his coffee, how searching for a healthier cup of joe has fueled Noblesville-based Life Boost Coffee into the national spotlight.
Your average cup of joe, in moderation, not only boosts brain health, but can also improve mood.
Well, Inc. magazine recently crowned Noblesville-based Life Boost Coffee the #1 fastest growing company in the Midwest. The business idea started brewing about 7 years ago when its founder went searching for a healthier cup of joe. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta has more. Kylie.
Thank you, Gary. Life Boost Coffee beat out companies in 10 other states to be named the #1 fastest growing company in the Midwest. The list ranks companies based on percentage revenue growth between 2018 and 2020, and Life Boost clocked in at, get this, more than 9,000% revenue growth. A chiropractor by training, co-founder and chief executive officer Dr. Charles Livingston says Life Boost is produced from the healthiest coffee beans on the planet. He joins me now to tell us more. Hi, Dr. Livingston. Thanks for being on the show today.
Hi, Kylie. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm great, and congratulations on this recent award.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're pretty excited.
It's a great accomplishment. Let's go back to the beginning, though. Tell us first how Life Boost got its start.
Absolutely. Well, it literally just fell in my lap. At the time, I had a supplement company. This small farm in Nicaragua was taking my supplements, and they loved the supplements. They wanted to put in the coffee. I said, no, it's a terrible idea. The herbs are too bitter, but I love coffee, send me your coffee. And it was honestly one of the best cups of coffee I ever had. I started doing research, and I found a gap in the market for healthy coffee. As you know, coffee is the third most drank beverage in the world. But that also means it's a cash crop, so it's heavily sprayed with pesticides. Being a chiro by trade, I care a lot about my health and the health of others, so that was the gap that I saw. And so your body bioaccumulates toxins like that, and since I drink it every day, I didn't want that to happen. It's kind of like a death by a thousand cuts, right? So it's not that just one cup of coffee that you have, it's, drinking them over time. So I was like, it's time for a clean cup of coffee.
All right, a clean cup of coffee. I feel like it's this space where kind of coffee junkies and health nuts, it's kind of this convergence of those two things. So you mentioned some of the health benefits that makes your coffee healthier. One thing we haven't touched on yet is that it's low acid. Explain why that makes it a healthier cup of coffee.
So So one of the things that is people age. Coffee, since it's acidic by nature, starts to give people acid reflux or bloat them or hurts their stomach. They have digestive issues. So for us, it's really important. It actually happened by accident. I noticed that when I drank it, like I wouldn't have the stomach issues that normal coffee would give me. And then I would get tons, like daily, just testimonials from other customers that would tell us that. So we started testing the pH and realized that our coffee is a lower acid coffee compared to a lot of other brands.
All right, and I know that you test for a lot of things to make sure that, like you said, these are clean beans. This Inc. magazine award, they called you an economic all-star of the Midwest with your 9,000% revenue growth in just a 2-year period. How did your company achieve that?
Honestly, it came down to focus. Entrepreneurial trap, you run a bunch of multiple businesses. Me and my partner decided just to really focus on this. We focused on D2C only from our website. We didn't focus on retail. And at that time, we did not focus on Amazon either. And we were only focusing on our signature roasts. We also focused on customers first. That's honestly our secret sauce, is just putting customers first, just taking care of them. I always tell my team that we're a yes company, do whatever it takes to keep our customers happy. We want them to come back, and they love our product. And I think that's really the secret sauce behind it.
And we mentioned how it's healthier for the coffee drinker. I know another big focus of your company is making it healthier for the planet. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, that's, for us, we separate it into 3 categories. We call it people, environment, and wildlife. So we focus on farming sustainably. We're corporate sponsors of the Rainforest Trust. We are also building schools in the regions where the coffee farms are located. And we donate thousands of bags to first responders. Those are kind of our passions.
And I think every entrepreneur has stories of hard knocks along the way. I think you faced a really pivotal moment back in, I think it was 2018, where you said you almost threw in the towel. So tell us sort of what happened and how you kept charging on.
Yeah, so the small farm in Nicaragua that I mentioned that was taking my supplements that we were getting the coffee from, they actually got in a family fight, so they split. So operations went one way, coffee went the other, and I had a moment to make a decision. Do we keep going or do we stop? Luckily, we had so many customers that just kept begging for the coffee that it pushed us forward to keep going, and we worked it out. We found some other suppliers. We created a checklist called Trust Pure that allows us to go to any country and find the cleanest beans.
All right, well, we don't have time to talk about it, but I know you're selling online now, expected to perhaps expand into some retail soon. So congratulations on your growth, and keep us posted.
All right, thanks so much, Kylie.
And Gerry, back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. Ahead in our next half hour, solar power energizing a small Wabash Valley high school. What it means for the school district's bottom line and potential career opportunities for students. Well, Shakamak High School in Greene County is going green. The school has installed a solar farm that will save the Wabash Valley school system more than $1 million over the next 12 years. It's time now for Eye on Education. There's a big ripple effect, too, to this story. The school district plans to use what they'll save in energy costs to spend on education needs, which could wind up supporting a new energy curriculum for students. Shakamak School's Superintendent Jeff Gamble joins us now from Jasonville with more. And Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
You bet. I know just over your shoulder there, we see the solar array that, are you energizing it, getting it online? Is it this weekend?
Yes, tomorrow we're supposed to have a shutdown by Duke Energy, and during that we'll be connecting with the power grid, and it'll take about a week or so for Verigy to tweak the system, so to speak, and we should be good to go in about a week.
Talk about how this whole idea came about to use solar to really energize, if you will, the high school there, and also garner some cost savings.
Well, about 2 years ago is when we started kicking the idea around to try to have some kind of cost savings for our school corporation. We needed something that would bolster our operations funds, and so we toyed around with the idea and decided to explore it. The former superintendent, Nick Carazia, and I worked together on that, and we approached Johnson Mello with the idea. We sold it to the community, had a lot of information and transparency with them. Johnson Mello came and did presentations to the community, and that's how we got it started.
Well, was there any pushback or any concern at all in the community about the solar array?
No, I think the community has embraced the idea, as well as our school board, and we see the savings and that they're guaranteed. And so that's a big selling factor. I know that in the last 20 years, some schools have gone to solar arrays and there's been issues with funding. But as we've gone forward, the process has gotten better, and the solar arrays and solar fields are cheaper to install now. And I think people are realizing the savings.
Well, let's talk about the savings, because they are real. And as you say, they're guaranteed. Talk about these projected savings and where that money's going to go, or those savings are going to go.
Okay. The first year, we're guaranteed over $70,000 in savings, and each year that goes up incrementally, so that if we don't realize those savings, then Verigy will take care of that or compensate us for that. But the savings go up every year. By the 12th year, we'll have realize over $1 million in guaranteed savings. And that will initially go toward our operations funds. If you're familiar with the way school funding works, there's usually two pools of money. Your education fund, which takes care of the school, and your operations funds, which takes care of paying the bills, your buses, your custodians, and running the school. Yeah. And typically small school corporations like us, we don't have a whole lot of operations funds, and so you have to transfer money from your education fund over to that. $70,000 a year is 10% of our operations funds. So that's 10% of that money that we don't have to transfer over, and that's savings that we'll realize in our education.
That is substantial. Hey, we've only got about 20 seconds, Jeff, but there's a student component, an education component to this whole plan as well.
Absolutely. Part of the agreement with Verigy is that they provide us with curriculum for solar energy, and that's vocational classes that we can add in. The students will actually have the solar field in our backyard so that they can look at, work with, and there will be people here from Verigy who will maintain the field. And so it's something that we can add to our curriculum as learning about green energy.
Very good. Innovation at a school system in the Wabash Valley. Jeff Gamble is the superintendent of schools there in Shakamak. And Jeff, thanks for joining us from Jasonville, and good luck with the project.
Hey, thank you for having me, and thank you.
All right.
Have a good weekend.
Well, Indiana Black Expo has named Alice Watson president of the organization. She succeeds Tanya McKenzie, who announced plans to step down at the end of the year. Watson currently serves as senior vice president of the organization, where she has led the day-to-day operations of IBE for some 10 years. She'll take over the organization in January. Prior to working at the Expo, she was appointed by former Governor Mitch Daniels as the Deputy Commissioner of the Indiana Department of Administration, where she led the Department of Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprise Division. McKenzie has led IBE for 15 years and says she's going to be launching her own consulting firm once she leaves the organization. A Pacers Hall of Famer returns to the court to send off another Pacers legend into retirement. More on the memorable moment between Reggie Miller and longtime media relations director David Benner when we come back. And the IBJ Life Sciences Power Panel is right around the corner, Friday, April 29 at the Westin in downtown Indianapolis. A chance to engage with a panel of experts as they discuss promising science, technology, and talent in Central Indiana's life sciences industry. Go to ibj.com/events to register. And more from our Engage Indiana event in Evansville.
We have to become an employer of choice in terms of the options we give employees in terms of benefits, work experience, opportunities to grow inside their career. In addition, we have to work collaboratively with the local community to make certain that the quality of the place continues to grow as well, so that people want to come to this region. I think we have to think 5-10 years ahead and think about what we want and how we're going to take advantage of the resources we have. We have an amazing riverfront area here. I foresee a lot of development around the riverfront in the area to actually bring people and it can, again, improve that quality of place.
We had to come and honor this man. When the Pacers called, I knew I was coming all along. It was just a matter of when.
A truly memorable center court moment. Indiana Pacers legend Reggie Miller surprising a longtime director of media relations David Benner as he steps down after 28 years with the club. So earlier this week, our Inside Indiana Business sports correspondent Bill Benner, yes, David's brother, sat down with his sibling at the Pacers practice facility to gather some thoughts.
Well, Gary, thanks, and I am delighted to be joined by my brother David as he winds down a distinguished 28-year career as Director of Media Relations with the Indiana Pacers. We're here at the Ascension St. Vincent Center, and David, it's been quite a run. You've had a lot of notoriety associated with your with your final time. 28 years. How does it feel?
A little bittersweet because you hope that maybe the last year you go out, you know, in the playoffs or in a playing game, but we had a variety of injuries and COVID-related things, and it just didn't work out. But that said, you know, the 28 years as a whole have been great.
April 3rd, the next to last home game recently, they had a wonderful salute to you, punctuated by a surprise visit, very much a surprise visit, from none other than number 31, the Hall of Famer Reggie Miller. That had to be incredibly special.
It was a total shock. You know, they present me with the jersey, and so you're out there at center court and you're doing the wave and all that, and then we'll turn around to the crowd behind you. You turn around, all of a sudden there's Reggie, and I went, oh my God, because it was a total stunner to me. I was going to text him and say, I can't believe we went through a whole year without seeing each other. And then the next thing you know, there he is. And like I said, I was just totally stunned.
Well, and you reenacted the ritual. And for those that don't know, Reggie and David, during Reggie's incredible heyday and the Pacers, Hicks versus Knicks and the Bulls and the trip to the NBA Finals, but you had a ritual that preceded every game where you would get animated with one another.
It started off innocent, where he just wanted a sip of the drink, and he had a good game, and we won. And then that started that. And then one time he held me up. He didn't come and get the drink, so I cussed him out. And he had a good game and we won. And so that started the whole wagging thing. But at least I had time to prepare for it. He would just come back and curse me out every time.
You've done a tour. In your final season, you've kind of done a tour of various NBA cities that have been a part of your life for the last 28 years. And many of those stops, they presented you with something. And one of the special ones, David, and you have it here with you, you got a piece of the parquet floor from Boston Garden. I mean, that is special.
Yeah, it was, you know, the tour started off, it was my wife's idea to do something on Twitter. And so I would try to find a guest at each stop. And, you know, Damian Lillard in Portland, who was great. Jonas Valanciunas down in New Orleans, who was great. And I go to Boston, I'm toward the end of the season, not sure what to expect. And then Jeff Twist, one of my mentors and my counterpart in PR there, they take me back to the press room, you know, for the pregame meal or whatever, and then they present me with this. We get on the plane to come back. And Rick Carlisle, our coach, says to me, he goes, that's a big deal. And I go, yeah, I know that's a big deal.
That is a big deal. David, just talk about your most memorable moments. 28 years, and again, NBA Finals and a lot of great playoff moments.
The best was winning the Eastern Conference Championship in New York City. I mean, that topped it. The fact that we disposed of the evil Knicks, and then you're finally going to the NBA Finals after the 2 previous years being relatively close. That was the number 1 highlight. The number 2 highlight was going to the finals, even though we didn't win, but to experience that and to have a chance at winning a championship. But unfortunately, Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant had something to say about that. I think a third one that's way back in the past. My first year here was the Michael Jordan return game.
Right.
And I told many people, it was like David Stern called you up and said, hey, you got 24 hours to put on an NBA Finals game. And that was in Market Square Arena. And that was, the amount of credentials that we handed out that day. All you could do was promise a credential, but not a seat. That was special. And we won the game, which was even better.
Quickly, as we wrap up, I know you're very, very proud of your staff. You won twice.
Won 2 PR Staff of the Year awards. Extremely proud of that, which meant that everybody chipped in, everybody did their job, and we were recognized for it, and it was much appreciated. And I just still got the trophies up in the office.
Well, David, I'm extremely proud of you, both as a professional and certainly as my brother. And we wish you all the best as you move into retirement. So thanks for being on with us.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Gerry, back to you.
Well, a packed concert calendar in central Indiana after 2 pandemic summers. 2022 expects to be the busiest in history. It is just one of the stories our partners at the IBJ are working on this week, and renowned arts and entertainment reporter Dave Lindquist is here from the IBJ newsroom with more. Dave, welcome. And I guess I mentioned it in the intro there, but after 2 tough summers because of the pandemic, this promises to be a big year for concerts.
I hate to say unprecedented, but this is like nothing anyone has seen. Surely one of the factors is the pandemic. If you're a musician who's ever had a hit record and you can scrape together a live show, you want to work this summer and there's work for you. Another thing that is interesting is that there are at least 3 venues in central Indiana that did not exist more or less before 2020. Holiday Park has a series called Rock the Ruins. It was started by the people who own the Vogue. They have 14 shows this summer. Wow. Down in Fountain Square, the Hi-Fi Annex has more than 20. And really, while the TCU Amphitheater in White River State Park is essentially the same footprint as the old lawn at White River State Park, before it became a permanent seating and a shed over the seats, they were doing about 20 shows a summer. This year, they're going to have more than 40.
Wow. Wow, interesting perspective. Okay, Dave, now if you had to pick 1 or 2 of these concerts to attend this summer, which ones would they be?
Well, I always like to see things that haven't been through, and there's a great pairing of 2 icons in music, I feel, Robert Plant and Allison Krauss. They put out a record back in, 2007. They didn't come through central Indiana. They put out another record recently, and they are playing the TCU Amphitheater in June. It's a tough ticket, though. Interesting.
Gotcha. Yeah, I bet it will be a tough ticket. Hey, one more item, Dave. The Indiana State Fair announced late in the week the theme for this year's fair, Indiana's Automotive Excellence.
Yes. In years past, they've selected something in the agricultural realm. This year, they're going to lean on Indiana's automotive history. I think you're going to see some classic car collections at the fairgrounds. They're going to bring some cars you might recognize from pop culture. They haven't named exactly what they're going to have, but beyond the century plus at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the race, there are companies that long predate you and me, Gerry, but names like Studebaker and Duesenberg and Stutz were big Indiana companies.
Absolutely. It used to be Little Detroit here in Indianapolis. You're exactly right. Hey, Dave Lindquist, as always, great perspective on some great stories that'll be in the IBJ this weekend. Appreciate the time, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Coming up next, we will do a deeper dive with our insiders on the potential impact of Elanco's new global headquarters at the old GM stamping plant site. and more from our Engage Indiana event in Evansville. As you look at the region, and you've been at USI for a number of years now, what in your view is special about Evansville and more broadly Southwest Indiana?
Well, you know, I'll tell you right now, the work ethic, the receptivity of folks, the engagement. People engage here. They want to serve one another. It's extremely unique. And then also, without question, over and over again, collaboration. You know, there are so few silos here in this community. People want to reach out to other individuals. They want to see organizations come together to serve the greater good. Yeah. I love that about this area.
Well, a game changer on the near west side of downtown Indianapolis is Elanco Animal Health broke ground this week on its $100 million global headquarters at the old GM stamping plant site. For some perspective on that big story and other business news around the state, pleased to be joined by our panel of insiders this week. Victor Smith is chair of the site selection practice group at Bose, McKinney & Evans. Also, we have Steve Appel, who's vice president at Gregory & Appel, and Portia Bailey Bernard, who is vice president, Indianapolis Economic Development here in Indianapolis. And thank you one and all for being on the Insiders. And we begin with kind of the big story, I guess, of the week. And Victor, in terms of getting it out front to you, Elanco is a client of yours, so you have that relationship. But I'll begin with you. $100 million corporate campus, a lot of elements to this story. Related to Elanco, related to Indianapolis, Indiana. Put in perspective, in your view, how substantial, how big is this announcement?
It's a major announcement, Gary. You know, Jeff Simmons is really a visionary. You know, at the groundbreaking, he talked about the building as not as a noun, but as a verb, because he's building something. And what they're building is not only the first post-COVID headquarters destination for their employees, but they're building a whole new momentum of innovation for their clients and for their customers, for vets, for pet owners. And I think this also is the follow-on is it's going to be drawing all kinds of new technologies and new companies and spin-offs, including the Biomedit that just spun off on Monday, Aaron Schacht, who was formerly with Elanco. I think that's just indicative of a new center of gravity for the animal health world. Yeah, and Portia, I know the Indy Chamber responded right initially to the RFP on this deal, so you've seen it up close and personal. As you look at the impact, big for Elanco, obviously, but how about for Indianapolis? How about for downtown Indianapolis, extending really across the White River?
I mean, this is huge. As you all know, that the former GM stamping plant has remained vacant for 11 years now. So the city, the state, the community, we've been waiting for something to happen. I mean, the investment that Elanco is going to make is just tremendous. They're bringing 1,000 high-paying jobs to our community. And with that, too, the public infrastructure improvements that the city will be making and connecting downtown and Elanco via a bridge by Henry Street that'll serve not only pedestrians but vehicles as well. There's also going to be the expansion of White River State Park, which is all part of the White River Vision Plan. So this is tremendous for the city and tremendous for the state. Yeah, Steve, your take on this and how substantial it can be longer term for Indianapolis and central Indiana.
Well, when I think of like major cities, one of the, besides how many pro sports teams do you have, is how many corporate headquarters do you have, and as Portia mentioned, the corporate talent, what it has effect on real estate, local schools, and it's a very exciting. And Elanco is kind of a little bit under the radar now, I think, locally, but I project in the future it'll be kind of like Lilly and Salesforce, and Elanco will be more roll off the tongues of local people. Yeah. The last thing I'd say too is that it brings the Valley neighborhood and ignites that whole west side of the water. The other thing is, don't forget, there's 45 acres left on that campus that hasn't been yet developed, and I know that's going to ignite a lot of interest in drawing other companies, maybe other corporate headquarters there as well. How about this whole concept? And Jeff Simmons talked a little bit about it, the Silicon Valley of animal health, and creating, from Purdue down here and south. When you look at Corteva, Elanco, obviously, and the assets that are here now, and creating something that can be a recognized area, just like Silicon Valley or Research Triangle Park here in Indianapolis. Well, I think that's true, and again, the first evidence of that we've seen is the Biomedit spinoff. I know Scott Dorsey and his group are
are scratching their heads and working together with Agronovis and with some of the other folks, the leadership at Elanco, to see what can we do to continue to draw that technology here to claim this as the new epicenter of animal health in the world.
Yeah. And if you think Purdue can also, with their agricultural ties too, it's just a lot of fits for Indiana.
A lot of assets in place. We held Inside Indiana Business and the IBJ, our first Engage Indiana event outside of Central Indiana. This one this week in Evansville, crowd of 350 people, business community leaders, big panel discussion talking about big issues in the region, you know, how they are dealing with those issues. One issue is the loss of air service. And Portia, I'd start off with you on this, but Evansville has lost air service to Chicago and Detroit, two really important markets, especially for them with the companies they have down there. How important is that, and what can be done to kind of get the service back, working with local entities?
Yeah, I mean, we work closely with the Indianapolis International Airport, and I mean, COVID took a tremendous hit on the airline industry, and business travel was such a key component to it. And what really is going to help travel get back is companies getting comfortable traveling again. So we're starting to see restrictions lift and employers are allowing their employees to travel. I think that's going to really start getting us going in the right direction in terms of picking up air service again.
Yeah, and connectivity is so important, as you know, not only for the business community but for the city itself. I think if you remember just a few years back, the IEDC began to get in that space a little bit when it attracted the nonstop San Francisco flights to Indianapolis. I think the IDC tools, I have faith in Brad and his leadership and the governor, that they're probably already having those conversations to see what it is that they can do in a post-COVID world when things come back, when the industry comes back, what we can do to make sure that service is brought back.
Another story this week, the continued expansion of healthcare really throughout Indiana, but here in Central Indiana, IU Health announcing plans to really dramatically grow its footprint in Fishers at the Saxony development, changing the name to IU Health Fishers and increasing the employment there, 50%, $287 million investment, so a lot of money. Of course, they're building essentially, one or two new hospitals in downtown Indianapolis as well.
So, full disclosure, Gregory and Appel's office is literally in ground zero of their $1.6 billion expansion right now. So it sort of looks almost like a war zone in a good way. But the Fishers is growing so much that it makes sense that there's probably a need out there. And I will chuckle though, with 287 out there and 1.6 here is a lot of money in healthcare, isn't there?
There is a lot of money, yes. Good for the construction folks as well. A couple of moves of note, if you will, on the personnel side, and that there's a new leadership change, a new president at Indiana Black Expo, also a new head at Tech Point. Portia, I'll start with you. Alice Watson taking over at Black Expo. Talk about, first of all, the importance of that organization, but also this leadership change.
I mean, this is great. IBE serves the community, and they just do so much in terms of education and economic advancement. Tanya's done a great job in laying the groundwork and really building a strong foundation for IBE. But new leadership is exciting. With that comes new ideas and innovative changes. I have some of my greatest memories attending summer celebration, and I feel like a lot of people don't realize, but every year, the summer celebration brings 100,000 visitors to Indianapolis, which generates roughly $11.6 million in economic activity, which is just amazing. I'm also pumped because the free concert is actually coming back downtown this year, and the queen, the legend herself, Miss Patti LaBelle, is headlining this year, so you will see me there. But congratulations to Alice Watson. I wish her nothing but the best in continuing the great work that IBE does.
Yeah, and as you say, this is an important year for Black Expo because folks are coming back downtown, which is great. Also on the technology side, I'll throw it to you on this, Victor. Ting Goody, been at Elevate Ventures, involved in the venture world here, certainly is the new CEO taking over for Mike Langelier, who's led the organization for a number of years.
What a great call. I mean, I've known Ting for a decade. Had the great privilege of working with her when she was at Elevate for so long. We traveled internationally trying to chase companies together and as part of a delegation. So clearly capable. It's a perfect fit for so many reasons. So Godspeed to her. That's a great match.
Yeah, hey, one other interesting, a mixed-use development that was announced. Those happen all the time. This one, though, in Tipton County, just off US 31. So some of these smaller communities are really connecting with mixed-use development, housing developments, housing such a big issue around the state of Indiana.
I think it's a good trend that's you're seeing because of what one possibly positive of COVID was you can live anywhere potentially and do your job. And so some people are looking to get out of the cities and have a little more space, and that might be a new trend that Indiana could also capitalize on.
Okay, we always like to try to end up on something sports or sports related. Sports books continue to do very well. Obviously March Madness, a big chunk of that, but almost $500 million in wagering at the sports books.
It's hard, as a 50% year-over-year growth, which with it being available on your phone, it's kind of dangerous for many out there, but the demand was clearly there.
Is it really available on your phone? Victor, I'll give you the last word. What do you think of the sports books? I mean, Indiana was one of the leaders, too, one of the first states to...
Well, it brings an industry that was kind of a black market industry into the light. So from a consumer protection standpoint, I think there's probably some positive things that go along with that. And let's not look beyond the state revenue additions. I mean, it provides the state with so many different additional resources to do good, I hope.
Very good. Victor Smith, Portia Bailey Bernard, Steve Appel, thank you one and all for being on The Insiders.
Thank you.
And we'll be back right after this. As we leave you this week, a look back at the legacy of the General Motors stamping plant. It opened in 1930 on 54 acres. Closing in 2011 after 80 years of operation. At one point, it employed more than 5,500 workers, but today faces a very different and perhaps very positive future.